An accused murderer is now in custody thanks to a Google Street View camera, which captured images of a man loading a suspected dead body into his car in the Spanish town of Soria. The photos, which were recorded in October 2023, appeared to show the 48-year-old suspect bending over while stuffing a large plastic-wrapped object into the trunk of a sedan along a quiet street. Investigators connected the images to the murder of 32-year-old Jorge Luis Perez, whose dismembered partial remains were later discovered in a cemetery near the town of Andaluz. The remains were found in an advanced state of decomposition and the rest of the body was never found. Police recently announced the arrest of Perez's former romantic partner, along with the unnamed suspect, who was seen handling the corpse in the Google Street View photos. The discovery of the images was especially lucky, considering the fact that it was the first time a Google Street View image was snapped in the remote area in 15 years. Number 14. Nathan Mahoney. In what's been described as a suspected copycat crime of the recent shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, a Michigan man is accused of stabbing his boss during an employee meeting on Tuesday, December 17th. According to reports, Fruitport police responded to the office of manufacturing company Anderson Express Inc. at around 9:30 in the morning. 32-year-old Nathan Mahoney had allegedly stabbed the company's CEO, Eric Denslow, in the side with a knife before fleeing the property in his car. Denslow was rushed to the emergency room in critical condition but is expected to survive. Officers apprehended Mahoney, who's been described as quiet by his co-workers, about 15 minutes after he fled. He remains held on suspicion of assault with intent to murder and fleeing a police officer, with bond set at $500,000. While authorities have yet to reveal a suspected motive for the crime, Deputy Chief Greg Paulson told News 8 that they are not ruling out the possibility of a copycat attack of the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Number 13. Brianna Beum. An acclaimed singer from New Jersey was reportedly bludgeoned to death by her own daughter, who is facing a murder charge in connection with the case. News of the incident came after police discovered the body of 57-year-old Kim Beecham Handsome in her Willingboro Township home. Officers arrested 32-year-old Brianna Beum, who is accused of killing her mother while her teenage sister was in the residence. While police have declined to speculate on Brianna's motive, the suspect's grandmother, 79-year-old Lorraine Beum, told the New York Post that Brianna has a long history of mental illness. The accused killer supposedly suffers from schizophrenia and had threatened violence against family members in the past. Lorraine further explained that Brianna's mental decline began about 7 years before Kim's murder and that she has spent time in and out of psychiatric facilities ever since. During the week before the murder, Brianna was reportedly talking really crazy and wasn't in her right mind, indicating the possibility of a psychotic break. She remains in custody on suspicion of first-degree murder and 2 weapon-related counts. Number 12. Tanya Sorcier. A scorned divorcee is facing a murder charge after shooting her estranged husband outside of a Mississippi courthouse following a divorce hearing. 49-year-old Tanya Sorcier is accused of killing 62-year-old James Ray Sorcier right after the former couple's divorce was finalized in court. The victim's attorney, Don Rafferty, later told local station WLOX-TV that he was doing some last-minute paperwork when gunshots broke out. Tanya's lawyer, State Rep. Jansen Owen, confirmed that he saw his client open fire while he was walking outside the building. Owen told WLOX that Tanya threatened him while he subdued her. He also said that he rendered aid as best as he could to James, who died from his injuries. Violence is apparently nothing new for the Sorciers. In August 2024, James had been indicted on charges of aggravated assault and domestic violence with a deadly weapon for allegedly shooting Tanya 5 times. He was scheduled to go to trial in March 2025. Prior to being killed, Tanya remains in custody on suspicion of murder. Number 11. Stephen Bradley Collins. In a headline-making case out of Alabama, police realized that a man's young son had been missing for months only after the father was involved in a fatal accident. On December 8th, 40-year-old Stephen Bradley Collins, his wife Wendy Jean Bailey, and the couple's toddler daughter were in a car crash in Fayette County. Wendy Bailey was hospitalized with critical injuries, but Stephen and their daughter died in the wreck. None of the car's occupants were wearing seatbelts, and Stephen was driving at twice the speed limit at the time of the collision. While investigating the tragedy, police realized that Collins and Bailey's infant son, Caleb Rowan Collins, had not been seen since September 4th, more than 3 months before the accident. In early November, Stephen wrote in a cryptic Facebook post that Caleb had major health issues and faced a lengthy recovery. Caleb's grandfather, John Elton Bailey, has been charged with failing to report the little boy missing. According to a criminal complaint, law enforcement believes that Caleb was removed from the home and taken to an unknown location and that he suffered serious bodily harm or death. Number 10. Payton Lean. While working as a DJ at a vegan adult club in Portland, Oregon in December 2024, Duncan Allen was attacked in his booth by one of the establishment's dancers. The assault was captured on surveillance video, which appeared to show 29-year-old Payton Lean stabbing Allen in the back twice. Allen, who has worked at the club for over a decade, quickly retreated to the club's kitchen where other employees intervened to prevent further injury. He survived to tell of his experience firsthand, later telling local station KPTV that the attack felt like a 500-pound man punched me in the back like 4 times. Allen further described drifting in and out of consciousness from blood and oxygen loss, while his vision became blurry and went white. Officers found Lathan hiding in some bushes outside the club with 2 small knives in her possession. During her arrest for attempted murder, assault, and the unlawful use of a weapon, she reportedly accused Allen of being a drug dealer, stated her intentions to plead insanity, and claimed that she was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Number 9. Dennis Hernandez. 38-year-old Dennis Hernandez, the brother of the highly controversial and now deceased former New England Patriot and convicted killer Aaron Hernandez, has landed in some legal hot water himself. During the summer of 2023, Dennis was criminally charged for threatening to commit an act of mass violence on the University of Connecticut campus. According to federal prosecutors, he made multiple statements threatening to carry out a shooting incident. In a Facebook message to an unnamed individual, Dennis reportedly wrote, "I would recommend remaining away from there because when I go, I'm taking down everything," and that he didn't care who got caught in the crossfire. Furthermore, he stated that not all shootings are bad and that some are necessary for change to happen. Dennis's car was spotted on UConn's campus in July of 2023. Amid a spate of increasingly erratic and bizarre behavior, he was arrested less than 2 weeks later. On December 18th, Dennis pleaded guilty to 1 federal count of transmitting interstate communications containing a threat to injure. He's currently awaiting sentencing, which is scheduled for February 6th, 2025. Number 8. Lance Rachel Sr. In a horrifying case of abuse that was partially captured by home surveillance cameras, a Florida man is facing criminal charges for allegedly screaming obscenities at and beating a young victim over a missing couch cushion. According to reports, 42-year-old Lance Rachel Sr. harmed the victim for nearly a half hour, leading to his arrest in Osceola County on suspicion of aggravated abuse and battery by strangulation. The abuse reportedly occurred on December 7th, but was not reported to the authorities until 4 days later. Upon learning about the incident, police launched an investigation. Based on their findings, they believe that Rachel flew into a rage because he believed the child was lying about the whereabouts of the missing couch cushion. In addition to choking and screaming at the child, Rachel is accused of striking the victim more than 50 times with a belt and threatened to break the victim's jaw. Lance remains in custody at the Osceola County Jail. A second suspect, 35-year-old Kimberly Rachel, was released after being arraigned on 1 count of failure to report known child abuse. Number 7. Salama Mohammed Salama. Following the fall of former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime in early December, harrowing footage showed a prisoner named being led out of jail by rebels in CNN's Clarissa Ward. News reports are now saying that the man, Salama Mohammed Salama, is a former first lieutenant in Syrian Air Force intelligence with a long history of alleged war crimes. He's accused of tricking rebels and journalists into sympathizing with him and helping him. While searching for missing U.S. journalist Austin Tice, reporters discovered Salama in a locked cell at a facility in Damascus that had already been emptied of all its other prisoners. Footage showed a rebel soldier yanking a blanket off a visibly terrified man who immediately sat up and raised his hands. The man identified himself as Adel Gorbal and claimed that he was held in solitary confinement by the Syrian military, but further investigation has revealed his true identity. Salama is accused of theft, extortion, killing civilians, detaining and torturing suspects on bogus charges, and coercing civilians into acting as informants for Assad. Number 6. Kevin Ray Underwood. In America's 25th and final execution of 2024, an Oklahoma man named Kevin Ray Underwood has been put to death by lethal injection on his 45th birthday for killing a young girl in 2006. Underwood lured the victim, Jamie Rose Bolin, to his apartment and proceeded to beat her over the head with a cutting board. He then suffocated and assaulted Bolin. Underwood later told detectives that he nearly beheaded and planned to eat the victim, but that he ultimately decided not to consume Bolin's remains and left her body in his bathtub. During a hearing before the state's Pardon and Parole Board a week prior to his execution, Underwood apologized to Bolin's family. His attorneys argue that he deserved to live due to a lengthy history of abuse and mental health issues, but he was denied clemency in a unanimous 3-0 vote. In a last-ditch effort to spare Underwood's life, his attorneys sought a stay of execution from the U.S. Supreme Court, but the execution proceeded as planned, and Underwood was declared dead at 10:14 a.m. on December 19th. Number 5. Bradley Robert Dawson. A Tennessee man has been found guilty of murdering his newlywed bride during the couple's 2022 honeymoon in Fiji's Yasawa Islands. 40-year-old IT specialist Bradley Robert Dawson and 36-year-old pharmacist Christy Chen were vacationing at a swanky 5-star resort when they overheard fighting in their room on the second night of their trip. By the time Chen was found bludgeoned to death in the room, Dawson had fled with his wallet and passport. According to investigators, Dawson had kayaked 3 miles in the middle of the night to an island that rarely receives visits from tourists. Believing that he was trying to flee the country, authorities detained him without bail on suspicion of murder. Dawson maintained his innocence, claiming that he left the hotel in order to give himself and Chen some time to cool off. He was nevertheless convicted of murder in December 2024 by Justice Riaz Hamza, who noted in his opinion that the defense's version of events cannot be believed. Dawson is currently awaiting sentencing, which is scheduled for January 27, 2025. Number 4. Natalie Samantha Rupnow. 2 innocent people are dead and 6 others are injured following a shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin on December 16th. A student later identified as Natalie Samantha Rupnow opened fire on her teachers and peers just before 11 in the morning. Emergency responders were at the scene within 3 minutes thanks to a quick-thinking student who dialed 911 as soon as they overheard shots being fired. In addition to the 2 victims who died, which include a teacher and a student, Rupnow was also found dead at the scene. Her family is reportedly cooperating with the authorities amid an ongoing investigation into the tragedy. Rupnow's motive remains unclear, according to Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes, who said that there were no clear warning signs that suggested that violence would occur. In the meantime, unconfirmed rumors are circulating about an alleged manifesto, and a law enforcement official told CNN that Rupnow planned the attack in advance, but no other details have been provided. Number 3. Michael Virgil. In an act of violence that ended in tragedy, a Royal Caribbean passenger died of a yet-to-be-determined cause after going on a rampage throughout the cruise line's Navigator of the Seas ship. 35-year-old Michael Virgil was traveling with his fiancée and young son when he lost his temper just an hour after the ship left the port of San Pedro. According to reports, it all began when Virgil exited an elevator on the wrong floor and became unruly. Fellow passenger Christopher McHale later told Fox LA that Virgil uttered racial slurs and death threats at onlookers prior to attacking 2 crew members. Footage captured by McHale appeared to show Virgil attempting to kick in the door while visibly concerned crew members stood nearby. Virgil could also be seen punching the door as a crew member attempted to speak with him. Security eventually detained Virgil using pepper spray, zip ties and handcuffs and injected him with an unnamed sedative. Less than an hour later, he was dead. According to Virgil's family, his behavior on the cruise ship was inconsistent with his typical character. Without revealing any details about what led to his demise, the FBI said in a statement that the agency is investigating an incident on board that resulted in death. Number 2. Aaron Simeon Thompson. A popular Texas corrections officer was fatally assaulted at the hands of an inmate who is now facing a murder charge in connection with the deadly attack. The incident occurred on December 16th as 28-year-old Isaiah Patrick Byers was returning the inmate, 45-year-old Aaron Simeon Thompson, to his cell at the Ellis County Jail in Waxahachie, following Thompson's daily 1-hour allotment of recreation time. At the time of the killing, Thompson had been detained at the jail for about a month on charges of assaulting a public servant, public intoxication, and evading arrest. He is now facing the prospect of a lifetime behind bars or possibly even the death penalty for capital murder. While authorities have yet to reveal a motive for the attack, Thompson's family told NBC5 that he was in the throes of a mental health crisis at the time of the incident. The accused killer's cousin, Tabitha Pennon, expressed sympathy for Byers' family while also stating that she believed the killing could have been prevented if Thompson had received proper help and medication. Number 1. Fion Dutton. A public outcry this week followed the light sentences given to 2 women in the UK for an incident earlier this year. What began as a fun night out turned into a life-changing event for 25-year-old British clubgoer Darcy Mossman, who was left permanently scarred following an encounter with 2 other women. According to court records, the incident occurred at Bonobo Bar in Chester in March of 2024 when 26-year-old mother of 2, Fion Dutton, and childcare worker Katie Roberts assaulted Mossman in an unprovoked attack. The incident began when Dutton and Mossman poured spirits on each other, at which point Mossman tried to walk away from the altercation. Instead of letting the confrontation end, Dutton and Roberts reportedly followed Mossman into the ladies' bathroom and ambushed her outside a cubicle. Roberts punched Mossman repeatedly while Dutton threw a wine glass in a woman's face, leaving her with a permanent 1.2-inch scar above her eye. Dutton, who admitted to being drunk but never gave a reason for the assault, pleaded guilty to inflicting grievous bodily harm and received an 18-month suspended prison sentence. Roberts admitted assault occasioning actual bodily harm and received a 6-month sentence, suspended for 18 months. The judge handed down what seemed like light sentences for the 2 women, wanting to spare their young children from having to experience their mothers being locked up.